Welcome to the show, and thanks so much for joining us. The word tithe means 1/10, and as Christians, we are instructed to give 10% of our incomes to God.
That's right, and you may wonder if this can only be given to your local church or not, and why are we told to give? Well, Brandy on Facebook asked, what is the importance of tithing, and how do I get started?
Okay.
I would say there's, no time like the time of now. So you can give anytime. You can start any day, anytime.
The way to start is to give.
Yeah.
And when you give, you start unlocking these wonderful promises of God. Give, and it will be given unto you. Heaped up, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. And here's the key, for with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And in that, make sure you're not giving from a sense of obligation that, okay, I'm fulfilling the law and I'm being a good person and, okay, I'll reluctantly give. When you give cheerfully and give generously, that's when wonderful things start to happen, for God loves a cheerful giver. In my own life, I had to learn the hard way. I mean, for my wandering years where I was rebelling against the Lord, I didn't want to go into ministry, want to do my thing. I would still show up to church and I would tip God. I wouldn't 10% him. I just, okay, the offering plate's being passed around, I'll do my part, and felt really good if I threw a $20 bill in there. No, that's not the way. When I finally got the principle, and it was curious, it happened in the mission field. And God literally had to break me and show me that tithing and giving and the proclamation of the blessing of tithing is all part of ministry. And there is a gospel of tithing. A lot of pastors don't embrace that. I had to get broken of some things and see people give from their absolute poverty in the Philippines and how God rewarded that. Things that I would throw away on a business lunch as a lawyer was such an extraordinary sacrifice for these people that were earning $2 a day. But then I'd followed them over time and watch how God would literally open the windows of heaven and pour out blessing and increase. It was not some get-rich-quick thing, but it was a lifestyle of generous giving, and it was wonderful. And in that, I came up with two principles that North American missions, European missions had failed in two things, and the two things were this. One, they did not teach tithing. They said, we're being supported from the ones who are sending us from North America or the ones who are sending us from Europe. We don't need your support. And in that, they shut off the blessing that God wanted to give to those believers, that if they would give into the work of the ministry, wonderful things would happen. Yeah. The second failing was, we're the missionaries, you're not, which was a big one. That, the ability for me to receive the gospel and then the dignity that comes that I can be a missionary too. I can go to other people that I haven't heard. And so I really got inspired. Let's do this. And in that, I was told it was absolutely impossible for CBN Asia to be supported from the Philippines. And boy, was that wrong.
Wow.
I was told it was absolutely impossible for Filipinos to go into cross-cultural mission. They would never succeed. They could never get the support that they needed. And that was wrong, too.
Wow.
The reason it's wrong is because with God, all things are possible. And when you're giving into his kingdom and you're following his principle, you unleash that all things are possible. It's incredible what he comes back with. 30, 60, 100-fold is what the promise is. And when you see that multiplication happen personally, boy, you want to be a part of that. It's just, yes, how can I give? How can I give cheerfully? Where do I want my gifts to go? It's a great privilege. You get to choose. And so why not? And test God in this, and he will prove his word true. He watches over it to perform it. It's the only time we get to test him. I think I'm preaching, I guess.
You are preaching. It's good. But it's good because I actually really like to talk about this because I learned the importance of tithing in my life. I had For a while, I thought, it was my early 20s, I guess, and I was still in college, and I had a really good internship at a local place around here. Anyways, and so I was getting paid a significant amount that I'd never been paid that much before for a job. And I just remember my brother and sister actually coming to me and asking me point blank, "Are you tithing?" And I was like, no. Am I supposed to? Because in my mind, I thought, you don't tithe until you're grown and you have a good job, then you tithe.
Oh.
Yes. And they were like, no, no, no. You need to start tithing now. God gave you this job. Give it back, and, you know, as a way of saying thank you, God. And so that kind of blew my mind. I was like, okay, so there's no age limit on tithing. There's certainly not. So I saw blessing from that. And then even, you know, a couple years ago, I felt like the Lord specifically he was like, you need to give this much. And I was like, okay, God, well, that's a little bit more than 10%. So, okay. So I was obedient to that with a little bit of reluctancy. And so, but now a few years forward, and now my income is matching that. So it's just, I just encourage everyone, like, please tithe because God is so faithful. And when you are obedient to him, he will pour out a blessing, pressed down, shaken together, running over in your lap. And sometimes, you know, that blessing might not be financial. It might be, you know, your car not breaking down, or someone just gives you something that you're in.
That's a tough one to prove.
What do you mean?
Your car not breaking down.
Okay. Your car still runs. I mean, if you have an older car and you're worried and, you know, that sort of thing.
I have an older car. I've got a 12-year-old car, and I love it. And it doesn't break down, which is maybe proof that, you know, you got a 12-year-old car.
I'm just saying sometimes the blessings might not be financial. It's other blessings, and there's still blessings. And
maybe I could ride it for 40 years and be like the Israelites in the desert, where their sandals didn't wear out and their garments didn't wear out.
Yeah.
You know, there are incredible blessings. I love the story that Ashley just told, because God will test you, and he'll put thoughts to you and say, okay, are you willing to trust me? I had something happen to me in an unlikely place in Varanasi, India. I was starting a Christian center for training pastors for that area as part of the Asian Center for Missions. And, you know, I literally borrowed the money to go against my credit card to go on the mission trip. And then I had enough to pay the lawyer to set up a trust in India so we could have a legal entity. But then came the time, how do we fund it? And I found out that there weren't any local resources. The people that had agreed to be part of it weren't, you know, all in. And so I'm at the moment where, okay, now what? And from my lawyer days, I still had this line of credit, a personal line of credit. I maxed that thing out, and literally as I'm writing that check, I'm praying, Lord, this is all I have. I don't have anything more. This is it. I'm all in, and I trust you. And so I did that. Within 24 hours, my wife called me in India, which was unusual. And she was so overcome with crying that I thought something horrible would happen to our children. She couldn't get the message out. It took forever to finally get the message out. A check for 100 times what I had just laid out the day before had come in.
Yeah.
And it had come in to bless CBN Asia, to bless Asian Center for Missions. This wasn't to me personally. It had come to the ministry to do that. And it was, what a wonderful thing, where God was showing off. He was saying, look, when you think you're all in, you're just scratching the surface with me. I've got the ability to do things you don't understand. So use that. You know, again, it's not a get rich quick. And it's one of the great prayers, Lord, don't make me too rich that I would forget you. You know, that I would start trusting in the riches. Good, yeah. That's a great prayer. But it is something where you unleash unusual blessings in your life. And I encourage everyone, please do this. You will open the windows of heaven.
Yep.
Things will happen that you can't explain.
Yeah, an unusual blessing could be your car just keeps on rolling. All right, well, if you would like to ask us a question or give us a topic to talk about on the show, make sure you visit our social media pages. Look for posts on the different platforms such as Facebook and Instagram, all at 700 Club Interactive. Make sure you also visit our YouTube page for extended interviews and stories. Well, the saying that everything is bigger in Texas could not be more true in regards to poverty and hunger. Texans have a steep climb when it comes to rising out of poverty, but one ministry wants to change that. Take a look.
The southern part of Dallas is home to 45% of the population in Dallas. One of the zip codes that we work in is the 75216 zip code, the #1 zip code for cradle to prison pipeline in Dallas. There are 681 inmates registered versus 2 college-ready high school seniors. Dallas ranks 3rd nationally in poverty for cities over 1 million. And Dallas ranks 1st nationally in child poverty for cities over 1 million. I don't think we knew the realities of how deep poverty can run, how it can twist our minds into believing things that just aren't true of ourselves. We believe there's a story behind every door, and we want to learn those stories, and then from that point, really begin to respond in a kind and dignifying way. Behind Every Door started in 2009 over in Northeast Dallas. We then expanded into a second community in southern Dallas. We got a golf cart and we went to the corner store and bought all the fried food that they had to sell there, and then a bunch of bottled water, and drove around and then asked people one question: will you tell me your story? Began to listen and to learn and then to love. It shed light on a beautiful community and on the needs of that community thought and believe that they have. So I think it takes time to become part of a community. So we showed up every day, and we're there every day. Our staff are on site all day, every day. It's life on life, walking hand in hand together, and really understanding that person's needs, and then connecting them to opportunities and resources that would help them move forward. They want a safer community. They want, grocery stores to come into that neighborhood and some other things, but by and large, they're happy and they just want to spend their days there. There are plenty of challenging moments. We went through a season where we began to see some crime that we hadn't seen since the day we showed up, and people were beginning to respond to the gospel in some ways we hadn't seen before, some very positive ways. And so then at the same time with this spike in crime, and it was just a dark kind of 6-month season. And yeah, that was hard to go, are we doing something wrong, or what's happening here? We gathered on a Friday night and prayed and worshiped inside the apartment community, and it had a massive, kind of almost instantaneous impact. Poverty is a nasty mentality. It's the same reason that you might have somebody growing up in poverty say, well, I'm just going to get on some kind of an assistance program and I'm going to kind of live out my days here. And I think that takes time to say, well, no, these other things in this world are for you too. That job as a lawyer or as a doctor that you dreamed about as a kid, that's for you too. You can do that, and I want to help you get there. I want to help you kind of walk down this path to get there. I love that people are dreaming, and that we're seen as somebody who might be able to help bring that dream into reality. Isaiah 58 is an amazing chapter. If you get rid of the yoke among you, the finger pointing and malicious speaking, and if you offer yourself to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted one, then your light will shine in the darkness, and your night will be like the noonday. The Lord will always lead you and satisfy you in a parched land and strengthen your bones. You will be like a watered garden and like a spring whose waters never run dry. Poverty can go away. That is what my heart beats for, is to see people go walk alongside somebody else.
Wow, I love that. What a beautiful representation that the church, the bride of Christ, you don't need a building. We are the hands and the feet of Jesus, and we're called to go outside the 4 walls of our local church and to give back and to show mercy and to be a representation of God's love to those who are in need. So I hope that story encourages you to do that today.
The 94th Academy Awards are set to air this Sunday. The nominees aren't the only ones preparing the show. The Dolby Theater is also getting ready for the ceremony's return.
And there are many predictions of who will take home the coveted award. Denzel Washington could win his 3rd Oscar this week, and he's letting everyone know where his talent comes from. Here's Efrem with the latest in entertainment.
At number 5.
Because the Lord is my shepherd, I have everything that I absolutely need.
Gospel music fans mourn the loss of singer LaShawn Pace. She died Monday at 60 years old. Pace began her gospel music career in the 70s, first performing solo, and then singing alongside her 8 sisters in the Grammy-nominated Anointed Pace Sisters group.
He made you promise. Yeah, I'm saved.
At number 4.
Kind of shocking to think about, but Francis Ford Coppola didn't have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame until this week.
Thank you all. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
The 5-time Oscar winner was joined on stage Monday by his sister Talia Shire and actress Elle Fanning. Coppola's The Godfather turns 50 on Thursday.
At number 3.
You let the tying run get on second, and we lost the lead because of you!
Oscar winner Tom Hanks makes a sweet wedding surprise in Pittsburgh this weekend when he stumbles on bride Grace Gwantley and asks to join a few of her wedding photos. And as you can see here, this isn't the first time he's photobombed a wedding.
This was the moment Tom Hanks interrupted Elizabeth and Ryan Barclay in Central Park, New York City, proving this Captain Sully really is a legend.
At number 2.
Oscars week in Hollywood, and it's good to be back.
There's no place like home, right?
The 94th Academy Awards is returning to the Dolby Theater this year after a pandemic pivot last year, when a smaller event with COVID modifications was moved to Union Station in downtown.
As for the red carpet, there is a ceremonial rollout on Wednesday, which certainly increases the excitement out here. By Friday, everything should be in place and ready for rehearsals.
At number 1.
All of our guests are illustrious, and all of our guests get a neon sign. What would you like your neon sign to say? Blessed.
Boom.
Another Denzel blessing. When the Oscars are handed out this weekend, he could be taking home another Academy Award.
Full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife.
He's up for Best Actor for The Tragedy of Macbeth. And in his press tour, he's letting fans know where the talent comes from.
When I got to that place, you know, and by the grace of God, I realized I was given this ability to act and direct and do these things. But I remembered my natural ability would only take me so far, so I knew I had to study more, I had to get deeper, I had to go to learn more. So that's what I did, and it paid off, and it's paying off now in a film like Macbeth.
Denzel won Best Actor in 2002 and Best Supporting Actor in 1990.
One of the most important lessons in life that you should know is to remember to have an attitude of gratitude, of humility. Understand where the gift comes from. It's not mine, it's been given to me by the grace of God. Use what I have, use what you have. Sound like your mom, right? Yeah, I tell you, listen, I just felt you. He was like,
You just told me use my imagination. I'm very creative.
Obviously, you're very creative. 2, help others. You know, on your last day, you can't take it with you.
Well, Efrem, welcome back to the show. So let's talk about Denzel Washington. So what role is he nominated for?
He's nominated for playing in The Tragedy of Macbeth, a black and white film released on Apple Plus. You can watch it if you have that platform right now. And he's naturally, as many actors are doing, touring, you know, lobbying to win. And on that podcast, he certainly pointed to God as the ultimate source for his creativity, knowing that he can't do anything in his strength alone. It's a lesson, he says, he learned very early on. and he wants to remind everyone, use the gift you have to give back to others.
Wow, I love that. I didn't know he even did the Macbeth film. It looks very creative and a little different, but it looks pretty good.
Pretty intense.
You have to be on Apple TV.
Yes, it's intense.
And you have to know a little Shakespeare to really sort of follow along. But it was a whole very interesting take, shot black and white, very stylized, a lot of set pieces, and a whole lot of work with lighting and camera angle.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, there is a lot of excitement surrounding the return of the Oscars to the Dolby Theater. Tell us more about what preparations they're making.
Well, right now, today is actually the ceremonial red carpet being rolled out there in Hollywood in just a few hours, and people are celebrating. The other thing that returns is all week long, there have been Oscar parties, people actually getting together again. And as you heard in the story there, this is, of course, quite different than last year when it was shifted. We weren't able to have a large audience, but we're returning to the way things were, and actors, actresses, and those of us watching at home certainly going to be looking forward to it. They've actually got 3 female comedians serving as hosts, doing all they can to boost ratings this time around.
Well, that's awesome. Is there going to be like a live crowd on the carpet like there usually is?
I think there'll be a small crowd, not as big, but yeah, there will likely be. I've been to LA a couple of times now, and red carpets are kind of getting back to normal.
Are you going
COVID testing beforehand, but getting back to normal.
Are you going to be in the small crowd?
I will not be in the small crowd. Okay. I'll be watching from the comfort of my living room.
Yes, me too.
Well, let's talk about another Oscar winner, Tom Hanks. He's consistently Mr. Awesome. He's making sweet wedding surprises. Tell us about it.
What a beautiful story. He is in Pittsburgh shooting a film, right? And he sees the young lady getting into the limousine, headed to the wedding, and he approaches and says, "Hey, I'm Tom Hanks. Can I take a picture with you?" First, she said she was a bit speechless. So they take all these photos. She goes to her wedding. She and her groom, now her husband, have a prayer before the wedding, but they don't look at each other. They're facing back to back. And she goes, "Before we prayed, I just had to slip this in. I just met Tom Hanks." And then she prayed before the wedding, yes.
I'm sure he was a bit jealous. Like,
I'm sure.
Can I meet him too?
Well, in one of those videos, it looks like the bride was ready to leave with him.
Yes.
See you, pal.
What a big surprise. And this is not the first time. I can recall at least 3 times news of Tom Hanks crashing wedding photographs when he is out and sees that a wedding is happening or about to happen. He has to take photographs, and it makes the bride's day, the groom's day, if he happens to be there like that one. I think that one was in New York.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's his thing now. He just like looks out for weddings everywhere he's at.
He's the
like,
wedding
I'm gonna
crasher.
photobomb this wedding.
He looks at all the wedding announcements in the paper, marks down the days. I'm going to schedule my stroll.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about Francis Ford Coppola just really quick. He recently received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Tell us more.
All I can say is it's a surprise that he did not already have one. I'm thinking 5-time Oscar winner, The Godfather 2, you name it, such a legend in Hollywood, and to not have a star, it's nice that he does have it. And his family was there to celebrate him as he got it this week.
One of the greatest directors of all time.
Yes.
All right, Efrem, well, thank you so much for being with us for all the latest in entertainment news. Make sure you check out Efrem's weekly show, Studio 5. You can watch it on the CBN News channel or online at cbnnews.com/Studio 5.
I'll match that pace. We leave you today with this scripture from Isaiah 41:13. For I, the Lord your God, will hold your right hand. Isn't that wonderful? Give you peace. Saying to you, fear not. I will help you. Everyone rest and relax in that wonderful word. Hello, I'm Gordon Robertson. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more encouraging videos like this one. Welcome to the 700 Club Interactive family, and God bless you.